Okay, we're here at the mock IEP meeting. I have the draft sitting in front of me. I have taken a picture um, of the parent with the draft of the evaluation report and the IEP, as well as the safeguards that the parent has rights over, just to inform them of any rights that they have about their child. So we're just going to have the mock evaluation report and IEP meeting. So I'll first start by asking if introducing everyone that needs to be introduced, especially admin and any other related services that are available that are to be helping with the student. Also, ask the parents if there's any demographic information that needs to be changed, phone number, address, that sort of thing.
No, it looks fine. Thank you.
And then we'll get into the evaluation report. We will first start talking about parent comments as far as their child's strengths, as far as their child and their perspective.
Well, we feel that JP has very good self-esteem. He really wants to be independent and in control when it's just him by himself. And he's also getting to the point to understand that there are some things that irritate him, and that's when he needs to be alone. And he has his room is his kind of his safe zone. So he's learned that when he's upset, that's where he needs to go. And he has made some progress this summer with the occupational therapist and also the speech pathologist services at the benefice. So we're pretty pleased with that.
We also are just going to discuss some implications for educational planning. This is where I would share some new concepts and ideas for JP and how he's going to succeed in the classroom, as well as in a least restrictive environment in our classroom here in the special education room. Some things that we're going to address are math, written expression, and reading. So that's what I'm going to suggest as far as our educational planning. On to our assessment summaries that we have found in the classroom with the regular education teacher and other people that were observing him. So there lists a bunch of different things to help the state be aware of what we did to try and find out where he's exactly at in his progress. And then we would talk about implications for educational planning. So we just said that he had a very thorough summary of how he is doing in the classroom, and felt that he needs to be qualified for SPED. We did not do a lot of other assessing because Benefice did the initial assessment, so that's why I'm not going to go into too much detail about that. Next,
and that was at our request, the parents' request, that we wanted him to have that done, because we just felt that it was in the summer and it just didn't seem like he had progressed much, and so we decided to do that.
On the third page, we're just continuing with assessment summaries, and this is the overall observation from the OT services. She did a lot of different observations with him to just try and find out what he can do, and those things are listed on that page. Obviously, the next sheet basically is a lot of the same thing. And she has wrote down some really helpful things for us to know as well about him. Yes, we did see him in our classroom last year, but it was only just for a brief amount of time. But I did get to know him, and so he wasn't like a brand new student for me to start working with, or a brand new student from a different setting or school, but we felt that we were in a really good place with helping support him and find out how we can qualify him. So, as far as educational planning goes, we come up with like 6 things, strategies that she helped, also helped us throughout our the writing of the IEP and that sort of thing. So it was really helpful, the information she gave us and provided. Next, we would go into the eligibility determination section of the evaluation report, and we on page 4, I believe, right?
Oh, it's yeah. The checklist is on page 7, but yeah, and we as parents, although he has been diagnosed as ADHD, he also has been diagnosed as being on the autism spectrum, and so we were asked by the district how we would like to have him qualify under which criteria, and we felt that autism was the right one to do. So I guess we all went through this, right, Mr. Cartwright? That we
Yes.
went through all of these, and
We
so go ahead.
We discussed that criteria for autism. We thought that we've checked yes for nearly everything on here. The only things we checked no for were using gestures to direct attention to an object. We also felt that play lacks elements of make-believe. Also, on the bottom, it was mentioning participating in make-believe play with others or engaging in social imitative play.
Yeah,
We
and
checked
he
a
does
yes
do
for that.
Yeah,
Mhm.
yeah.
Because
It was one of the.
there's
other,
one
I
of the
guess,
things
yeah.
that doesn't mention here. It doesn't say that, but anyway. Also, makes repeated vocalizations or verbalizations. We felt that he did not do that. And he does not engage in repetitive physical behaviors, such as body rocking, spinning self, finger flicking, hand flapping.
One of the things that I did share with Mr. Cartwright was the fact that he had been doing that, and that was one of the reasons why we had him assessed. And but especially the SLP, the speech and language pathologist at Benefis, said that he is doing less and less of that. And when the OT, when I visited with Michelle Fox, the OT for here, she said when she, and also Mrs. Benjamin, the principal that observed him, also said that she saw very little of that, not any more than, a child of his same grade. So we felt as a team that, we checked no on that. And then what was the other one? Oh, there, yeah, go ahead.
And then we also, towards the end of the criteria for autism, it mentions, does the student have at least one characteristic in each of these 3 areas? And we felt that he does have characteristics of social communication, social interaction, but not restricted in repetitive behaviors and interests.
Right.
So also, so going back to the prior written notice, which is on page 6. Basically, prior written notice is basically sharing all of the information we just shared with the parent. Obviously, a lot of those things I've shared in the IEP and the evaluation report that I've already sent. So I'm not going to mention a lot of those things. But that's basically where we'd reiterate what we've already said as far as evaluation report. We also said that he's just going to we also established that he just needs special education because he qualified for autism, and there's just that's the only thing that we mentioned that he qualifies for, especially at the beginning of our document where it says, what was that? It was
Oh,
the
on
very
the
beginning.
IEP, where it says.
Oh yes, on the
multiple
IEP
disability-
also.
that
We
should be
just
off.
we just had just the autism on that disability category. That's what I was getting after. So we recommended that he just be and considered for math, reading, and written expression. And he's already been established for speech and language. So that's why we didn't do any of the assessment, as I stated earlier. So that would conclude the... Oh, he also had... I'm sorry, but he also added... qualified for OT services and counseling as well. So those are some things that he's been doing before we started with our him being in the sped room. So he spent last spring and summer being evaluated, and then we just got around to getting him into sped. So
Well, we didn't, yeah, he wasn't referred until after,
correct. Yep.
right, Mr. Cartwright, after we came to you with our information.
Yes.
So
Mm-hmm.
everything was done, quickly, and he was being, serviced. We were real happy that things moved quickly, so.
So that would conclude our evaluation report, and then we'll just move right into the individualized education program, or IEP. We mentioned a lot of the strengths and concerns and interests of JP. A lot of those things would be mentioned again, especially from a different perspective. Obviously from other school staff that may attend the meeting, that sort of thing. And then we will move into the consideration of special factors. We had mentioned that his behavior does impede his learning or that of others. And we felt that he does not have communication needs. He does not require assistive technology or devices. And he has not been determined to be limited English proficient. We didn't feel it was necessary for any blindness or visual impairment either, because he's not blind or visually impaired. So we'll move on to the next page of the IEP.
I'm the school psychologist, and I'll just quickly go through my counseling. I had met with JP a couple of times last year, just at request of the principal, and I think the hardest thing for him is to understand what other people's facial, that social skills deficits as far as facial recognition and also body language. He does use eye contact more so, I would say, than some students on the spectrum. And then I did look into what they had written when they were assessing in the summer, and when I met with him before the meeting, I felt that they had made some great strides with him, because he was very good in a one-on-one situation. I know that in the observation they had listed that sometimes he does talk over people, but he is a very sweet boy, and when he knows that he has interrupted someone, he usually stops talking. And so I had a few things that I wanted to work on with him. I probably went over the top a little bit, but I'm starting with a lot of my students called the zones of regulation, and you may know what that is, but basically I'm going to teach them about blue, green, yellow, and red. As you might well imagine, blue means they're not feeling well physically, greens are ready to go, yellow is they're starting to get frustrated, and that's when we want him to know that he needs to take a break or come down to Mr. Cartwright's room. It's on the same floor in the school, so it's lots of students do that. And what I want to do over the long term is have him be able to know to feel physiologically what is happening to him when he starts to get to that yellow zone. Does he get, a sore throat? Can he not talk? Does he need a drink? Does he have an upset stomach? Does he feel like he wants to run? That I work with a lot of students about those kinds of things. So those are there's 4 things there, but I kind of, that's a little synopsis there.
Yeah, I'll explain some things that we did, some goals or a PLAF according to what he had for math. We said that he receives math with his peers and was able to achieve a 79% with support from his teacher. Jacob has had difficulties beginning and completing without teacher support compared to his peers of the same grade. He needs teacher support approximately 100% of the time compared to his peers who only require teacher support when needed. As far as goals for math, I had 3 of them, and I had one dealing with basic geometric shapes, another one with writing his numbers, and then also another one with identifying numbers with accuracy. I believe I've sent that this IEP to you anyways, so you can see those. And then I would go into reading as well. A lot of the reading difficulties that the student has is his phonics knowledge and reading comprehension. So I'm basically addressing those things in his goals as well. Mainly making sure that Jacob is reading his text at an instructional level when he does these things. Also, beginning, middle, and ending sounds to form words. So those are some things we're going to work with him on.
Do you want? I've talked to Michelle about this, so I'll just go quickly through our OT. The OT for Choteau County Joint Services is a part-time on an as-needed basis. Although the very interesting thing is that she was his OT this summer at Benefice, because that's where we hire her from, is Benefice. So again, the PLAF has those 6 or 7 issues that she talked about in the evaluation report. She has just relayed them back here again for us to look at. So obviously those are the same, and if you have the report then you can see those. But her goals will be, she wants him to form lowercase letters correctly using formation groups C-O, A-D, G, R, N, M, P, B, H 9 out of 10 times in a written language sample. And then his benchmarks would be, he would be able to complete a 3-step draw, cut, paste color project to combine simple shapes into more complex objects 4 or 5 times attempted. JP will be able to place a larger space between words than letters in a word grouping 9 out of 10 times in a copy task, and then he will visually track across a poster that's 5 feet away and complete movement tasks exercises correctly 4 out of 5 times attempted. Michelle is very good. We've had her for about 7 years, and this is her 8th year with us, so it's really neat that she is coming in having known JP. So that's what she wants to continue with him.
Also, we mentioned the speech and language aspect of it there. That's listed next. We would talk about that with the parent. Also, I have a written expression on the next page, which is page 5. I kind of mentioned the same thing a little bit in reading, and as well as with OT, is that grouping letters, spacing between letters, and obviously extra time is something really important for him, in him being able to complete his work. So I just mentioned 3 written expression goals there too also. Our progress report frequency is every trimester, which is only 3 times, obviously only 3 times throughout the year. We felt that his minutes in special education services for math and reading were 300 minutes a week. That's an hour a day, obviously, and then a half hour a day for written expression, which is 150 minutes. We felt that that's enough time for him to get his work finished and him be productive and and do what he needs to do in the room here. Also, we've said that related services was OT, which is already established at 30 minutes a week, as well as counseling and speech and language. So, least restrictive environment, we checked yes for all of these. We mentioned that the educational placement is based on the student's IEP, that he is as close as possible to the student's home, that the placement is in the school the student would attend if he or she did not have a disability, and we felt that the team considered any potential harmful effect of the educational placement on the student or on the quality of needed services. As far as assessments go, this student is a first grader, so we didn't, aside from time, there's not really a lot of statewide tests right now for them, so that's why that section was not really completed. District-wide assessments, obviously with accommodations. In a one-on-one setting, assessing done in a quiet setting with less distraction, no time limits, except for the reading text. Jacob will have instructions, questions, and the answer choices read to him. Supplementary aids and services. We felt that obviously
Well, they have the he has those zone of
Oh, that's right, yeah.
regulation cards, and then also Mr. Cartwright, this is the school psych again, has also put up, there's a poster, so all the kids can see, and that when he has any trouble, that he knows that he has the right to come down here. And the one thing that I've seen about Jacob too, and even from last year, is that he does not take advantage of that. You know, he may step out the classroom or come down and see Mr. Cartwright, but he doesn't like stay here forever and will go back when asked. So he's very compliant in that regard.
I apologize too, because sometimes in the video I'm stating JP, it's short for Jacob. He likes to be called JP, so that's why I haven't mentioned it in the IP, but I know that I've said that before. So in the instructional supplementary aids and services, there's just a bunch of other basically other things that we have mentioned already.
Extended time and
those sorts of things. So there's a lot of different there's a list of different things that we are doing to help him.
I know Mr. Cartwright and his paraprofessional have put together a visual schedule, excuse me, so that he will know when he's going, and I don't think he's had a real hard time with transitions, but this obviously gives him some visual assistance. This is a school psych, by the way, again. So that was another thing. So good on, Mr. Cartwright and the para to decide that was real important for him.
Moving on, we felt that it wasn't needed for him to have an extended school year. It's not necessary for him. Also, the parents in the district and school district agreed that a reevaluation is unnecessary at this time. And I have contact information accessible there for accessibility and responsibilities. My email will be there, as well as verbal communication. And then we have the signature page. And then we'll get to the prior written notice, which basically is what we already mentioned in a nutshell. So, and then I would ask the parents, anyone if they had any other questions or comments as far as anything they'd like to add.
No, I think
change.
I'm the parent, and I think it sounds very good. The one thing that we know about JP, and honestly, he does like to be called JP, and sometimes that confuses people because they think his last name is P, and it actually starts with an H. But in any case, he does get frustrated when he knows that he doesn't know as much as his classmates. So it will be really great for him to be reading and learning at not only his instructional reading level, but also his pace. And I really like that they picked up on the fact that He moves a little slower than his peers. And I know that Michelle has worked a lot this summer on his spacing, but it's good for him to know that you can't just put all the letters together. So having Mr. Cartwright as well as the OT and even the speech person working on that'll help him a lot. So no, we're very happy with this, and I will sign it.
Okay. So
Well,
that
thank you,
is
Mr. Cartwright.
yes. Thank you for your time.
You bet.
So that concludes our IEP and the evaluation report. Thank you.